communicate to the nation of Israel. In last week's lesson, we looked at the horses among the myrtle trees, which portrayed the fact that God will rebuild Zion and his people. And then we also looked at the four horsemen and the craftsmen, the second vision, which represents the fact that Israel's oppressors will be judged. When we get to chapter 2, we see that Zechariah has another vision. It is the vision of the measuring line. Now, when we look at this, we're going to look at the first 5 or 6 verses about this vision. It starts off by saying, on verse 1, Zechariah said, "I looked up, and there before me was a man with a measuring line in his hand." As we get through verses 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it tells us that the prophet Zechariah saw a man going to measure Jerusalem, a city without walls. This vision reminded God's people that he would at some point in the future restore the city in terms of size, population, wealth, and security. The Lord takes care of his people. Always remember that, and that he will one day have the city of Jerusalem rebuilt. When we get to verses 6, 7, and 8, we look at how the Lord declares, "For I have scattered you to the four winds. Come, Zion, escape, you who live in daughter Babylon. For this is what the Lord Almighty says. After the glorious one has sent me against the nations that have plundered you, for whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. I will surely raise my hand against them, so that their slaves will plunder them. Then you will know that the Almighty has sent me." The Lord will inherit Judah as his portion, that's verse 12, in the Holy Land, and will one day again choose Israel. Never forget that God made the covenant over several thousand years ago with Israel. He made that covenant, and he will keep his promise with them. In verse 13, it says, "Be still before the Lord, all mankind, because he has roused himself from his holy dwelling." The temple must be rebuilt for the day of the Messiah's glory that will inherit it. The people are not only building a building, they are building their future. Israel is God's covenant people, and God will never forget that. Despite Israel's blatant disobedience and captivity, God still refers to Israel as the apple of his eye. Israel's future blessing is contingent upon its obedience. Remember, God keeps his promises. Thank you for joining us, and